Hi students, today's class is going to be pathophysiology of aging. Aging is very important because the number of aged people around the globe is increasing, and geriatric medicine has a valid role because it got to ensure that the aging old people age healthily and they do not encounter with drastic ill health of chronic diseases. So objectives of today's class will be to have an introduction about aging, to know about the definition of aging, concepts of aging, factors that affect biological aging, and pathophysiology of aging. So understanding the concepts of aging as a disease and aging as a process is important so that the application of preventive medicine and curative medicine in geriatric age group is learned. Aging process is described by the theories of aging due to the extensive works done by various scientists in different eras. So what is this? Aging, is it a physiological process or a pathological process? So if it is a pathological process, then we consider that as a disease, and what should be done regarding that particular scenario and the condition, and what we got to, how we can prevent it, and how we can modify it and treat it and manage these conditions. It is in the concept of a disease. But if you consider that as a natural physiological process, then what is the mode of postponing that aging, which is usually associated with the deterioration in the functional systems. So this is what we got to, but understanding these two concepts is very important because we can delineate between how to manage the conditions which are occurring in the old age, as well as how to prevent the pathological conditions, pathological diseases which can occur, and how we can manage them. So aging is as a disease or a physiological process. So the debate on this is still going on, and we do not know whether it represents a pathological process. So having heard of this one host Shea, so I want to have a give some interesting thing on this. So this is a poem written by Harvard medical professor Oliver Holmes, where he says that he built a carriage which can stay without tear and wear like 100 years. Okay, so this cart suddenly one day collapses. That is what he's saying. So that is what is happening during the old age. So suddenly we become old. Though it is a progressive disease, we do not know what is the factor that affects us or initiates this old age. So this is a Lacan's masterpiece. This poem goes like this. Have you heard of the wonderful one horse Shea? So you please guys, if you have time, just go and read this. This is the wonderful poem which you can understand the meaning, and we can sum up some. Yeah. Okay. So what is thanatophobia? So it is a form of anxiety characterized by the fear of one's own death or process of dying, commonly referred as death anxiety. So fear of losing loved ones, or fear of dying, okay, that death fear, that is called as thanatophobia. So what is the factors on aging is the aging population are increasing. It could be like 2 billion by 2050. And no better health could be achieved. That is what we can assume in the present scenario. Common one could be the common communicable diseases. So we cannot say healthy people are typical old age people. So we got to look into the health systems where they can progress more, indeed very progressively, in finding out the needs of the old age people and manage their diseases. So you need an integrated system of care to control the diseases. So what is the definition of aging? So it is a time-related deterioration of the physiological functions necessary for survival and fertility. So Denham-Herman postulates, so this is another one form of aging. The definition is a result of progressive accumulation of changes in the body which occurs with passing time and which causes an increase in the probability of the disease and death of an individual. So it is a natural process. We do know, no one knows when old age begins, in aging occurs. It is a universal process. It is intrinsic process, it is a progressive process, it is a deleterious process, and it is an irreversible process. So the study of the science of aging is called as gerontology. It is coined in 1914. The scientists who work on this are called as gerontologists, and the medicine branch of the medicine which is dealing with geriatric medicine or the problems of the old age people is called as geriatric medicine. So the geriatric age group is more than 60 years. That is considered for the purpose of record and for the medical purpose. But is that the real aging? Is 60 years is the real aging? So now we got to understand the concepts of aging. So we have given you some different terms here. One is the chronological aging, biological aging, psychological aging, social aging, and cognitive aging. What is chronological aging? Like from the time of birth, okay, you have your days, you have your years, you have your age every year added up, and that is called as chronological aging. What is biological aging? Aging is the functional alterations that is occurring in the body, and that is called as biological aging. Psychological aging is you feel psychologically that you are an aged person or not an aged person. Even at 70-year-old, you feel young at heart like 20-year-old. That is psychological aging. Social aging is the CEO of a hospital or a person who is leading an institution. Okay, so though he may be a 25-year-old or 30-year-old or 35-year-old, but even then, these persons are considered socially aged because they are in a position. Okay, so cognitive aging, emotionally how we are mature enough, that is your cognitive aging. So these different aging concepts you got to keep in mind before examining or concluding any person on medical aspects. So here I have given you the chronological aging. It is the amount of time that has passed from your birth to the given date. Biological aging or physiological aging or functional aging is the gradual accumulation of damage to various cells and tissues in the body. That is your biological aging. What are the factors that affect the biological aging? So one is the chronological age, 2 is genetics, 3 is lifestyle, 4 is nutrition, 5 is disease and other conditions which I have not highlighted here. So what is genetics? So genetics plays a very important role. Okay, so if you genetics genes click on like you age early, you look elderly, or the biological process inside your body starts early. If it is later on, if your gene says no, it is like only by the 35 years or the 40 years, it will start clicking, then it goes like that. Lifestyle, even if the genetics are favoring you to age in a slowly progressive way, if your lifestyle is not in place, okay, then you encounter this aging process at an early stage. Also nutrition. So most important one is the diet. So the food we take plays a very important role. Okay, so all the food intake is very, very important. The diseases. So if you are encountering with the childhood diseases, malnourishment, chronic illnesses, and lifestyle diseases, and that will affect your biological aging. So what is the difference between aging and senescence? Aging means merely growing old. You add up your number. That is the meaning of aging. Senescence means the expression used for the deterioration in the vitality or the lowering of the biological efficacy that accompanies aging. That is called as senescence. So homeostenosis, what is homeostenosis? It is characterized by the progressive construction of the homeostatic reserve of every organ system. Like whenever you encounter a change, okay, you have a homeostasis in your body, which always brings back your biological factor back to normal, and because all the systems in your body are vitally functioning and effectively functioning. But what is homeostenosis is, if this capacity goes down and the body systems cannot bring back your altered biological parameter to normal, that is called as homeostenosis. So as you get old, this concept of homeostenosis we got to understand. So it is a gradual and progressive rate and extent of decline vary, independent decline of each organ system influenced by diet, environment, personal habits and genetic factors. So what is the pathophysiology of aging? So with this introduction, we will go into the pathophysiology of aging. So different concepts, before we go into it, different concepts, like as we talked the social factors, the genetic factors, the psychological factors, biological factors, all these things plays a role. But here what I want to concentrate here is the recent research works which tells much more on the pathophysiology of aging, that is your biological mechanism of aging. So before that, what is the changes that is occurring because of the biological effectors? One is increase in the blood pressure, osteoporotic changes in the bones, decreased digestive functions, decreased immunity, decreased audiovisual acuity, loss of memory, decreased sensory and motor responses, increased incidence of diabetes, hypertension, malignancies, GI dysfunctions. So all the comorbid conditions are prevalences or incidences increased. So what are the biological changes with the aging? We'll go much in detail about theories of aging in one another presentation. So here, but we will look at what exactly it is doing. Okay, so it is some clear mechanisms are available to us. One is chromosomal abnormalities. Two is increased DNA cross-linking. Then it is increased frequency of single-strand breaks in DNA, decrease in DNA methylation, loss of DNA telomeric sequences, increased post-translational changes in proteins, deamidation, oxidation and non-enzymatic ligation of proteins. Also deformation in the mitochondrial structure. So whatever is happening, it is causing a problem with your DNAs as well as in your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cell. So these two are the key words you got to remember when we talk about what is happening to the pathological changes which initiates your aging. So the pathophysiology of aging. Now what I want to concentrate here is on the oxidative stress and free radicals. So what are free radicals? First, these are the oxygen. The oxygen, which is essential for the living organisms, is the cause of degeneration and the death, as the products of oxidative metabolism are potentially toxic. These products of metabolism, which is derived from the oxygen, is called as free radicals. Okay, and the stress which is induced by these reactions is called as an oxidative stress. So the common free radicals are the superoxide anions, hydrogen peroxides, hydroxyl radicals, single oxygen, hydroperoxy radicals, peroxynitrite, OH radicals, and so on. Okay, so now whatever the reaction that is happening, you have heard about the Haber's reaction or Haber-Weiss-Fenton's reaction, which produces these free radical, which is the common one, which is the first studied reactions of how these free radicals are produced in the biology, in the cells. So when you talk about this, we cannot forget the scientist Haber. Okay, these reactions are named after Haber, and Haber is the one who worked on the poisonous gases in the World War I, and this is his wife. She is also a chemist, Clara Haber, and it was so interesting during the World War I. That was it was a battle between the Russians and the Germany. Haber was as a German citizen, he worked as a German scientist, and he was working so much on the poisonous gas, and he used this chemical weapon in the war front. So his son Haber wrote a book on this, the poisonous cloud. You can search this book and read on this, which is very interesting. So the poisonous gas. So why I want to tell you some historical factors here is you can remember the Fenton's reaction or the Haber's reaction, and these free radicals are produced, and this was the base on which the poisonous gases were produced, and he is a scientist, the Haber, who killed thousands of people during World War I. Okay. So how this free radical, with this interesting information, we go into what is the metabolic process that causes the free radicals. Oxygen, which is formed by the oxidative deamidation by L-amino acid oxidase. It is formed during univalent oxidations of oxygen in the respiratory chain. Oxygen is formed during methemoglobin formation. It is also formed during cytosolic hydroxylations of steroid drugs and xenobiotics. Free radicals are produced in tissues on exposure to ionizing radiations too. So these are various cytosolic oxidations that produce oxygen in different ways, and they are the ones which involve into the biological process to produce the free radicals. So what is this free radicals? What is its effects? They are really highly reactive substances which do not have a paired electron. They form peroxidases and lipoxidases, and these are the threat to the biomembranes. The free hydroxy radical is the most reactive and extremely potent oxidant. So what is happening? There is a normal electron, sorry for this picture. So there is a loss of electron and it becomes a free radical. So what it does is, it takes up, here you can see, this is a free radical. It has an unpaired electron. It wants to take up from a healthy cell, takes up the electron, and this becomes damaged and useless. And this is what is happening. This is a free radical, and the biological cells are affected by it. And this stress which is produced and damaged the tissues is called as oxidative stress. So we came across lipid peroxidation, isn't it? So what is it? Conversion of membrane lipids and unsaturated fatty acids to lipid peroxidases and lipoxidases is called lipid peroxidation. It is a chain reaction initiated by free radicals. It is potentially devastating effects. A free radical with unpaired electrons takes away hydrogen from a methylene group of polyunsaturated fatty acids and converts it into a free fatty acid radical, where the free fatty acid radical combines with the oxygen to produce fatty acid peroxide radical and fatty acid hydroperoxide, which is very toxic agent and which disintegrates the membranes, and it is a toxic agent to the biomembranes. So metabolism is normally occurring. Normally oxygen is utilized and free radicals are produced, but in how the damage is prevented is we have the scavengers of free radicals like superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, ferricytochrome, and endogenous ceruloplasmins. So these are the ones which prevent the potent effect of the free radicals which are produced normally in the tissues. So what is the function of superoxide dismutase? It is present in both cytosol and mitochondria of the most aerobic tissues, and it destroys oxygen. Catalase destroys hydrogen peroxide, and glutathione peroxide also destroys hydrogen peroxide. It is a selenium containing enzyme present in the cytosol and the mitochondria. It destroys hydrogen peroxide with the help of reducing glutathione. Ferricytochrome, it is oxidized, the radical is oxidized to oxygen. Endogenous ceruloplasmin halts the Haber's reaction. So ceruloplasmin is an endogenous one. We just have an idea about it. It is a peroxidase that converts the ferrous ion to the ferric form. In the absence of ferrous ion, hydroxy radicals cannot be formed. So it also halts the Haber's reaction and prevents the formation of highly reactive free radicals. So ceruloplasmin, endogenous ceruloplasmin is an important scavenger of the oxidants. So what are the antioxidants? They are the substances or the chemicals that prevent the toxic effect of the antioxidants. So antioxidants reduce the process of lipid peroxidation. Naturally occurring antioxidants are lipid-soluble antioxidants like vitamin E, tocopherols, beta-carotene, lycopene. Water-soluble antioxidants are vitamin C, urea, ceruloplasmin, chelators, and so on. So we do know like the vitamins, which are an important one, and subsequent intake of vitamins is very, very essential because it prevents lipid peroxidation. Why it prevents lipid peroxidation? It prevents the free radical effect on the membranes, cell membranes, because it detoxifies these oxidants. So how it is doing that? So here comes our Superman. So these are the antioxidants. So it fights the free radicals. So how it fights? The free radicals try to take the electrons from the healthy atoms, but the antioxidants give them, and they make it a paired, give an electron and makes it potentially non-reactive. So what is the clinical significance of free radicals? It has an important role in aging. It has a role in the neonatal oxygen radical diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, atherosclerosis and thrombosis, chronic granulomatous disease, and it has a role in phagocytosis. So the role in aging is what we are focusing now. Free radicals promote aging and facilitate certain diseases like diabetes mellitus, atherosclerosis, and cancer. So we can modify by behavioral changes the incidence of the chronic disease of aging. So the ones which we want to concentrate here is I have given into two groups. One is the hypertension, atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, cancer, COPD, diabetes mellitus type 2, and osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, as well as cholelithiasis. So what you got to do? Reduce sodium intake and body weight. You got to treat proper treatment for the hypertension, stop smoking, reduction of the dietary fat, minimization of sun exposure, avoidance of alcohol. So something which you can prevent, which you can modify, that is what I have listed in the second group, where you can make the incidence of the progression of the severity of the disease much more slowly. So this is the chronic disease. Alright, thank you. So here what we have narrated here is about the pathophysiology of aging. Most importantly, the biological mechanisms alone I have narrated here, though not the psychological behavior, social behavior, or the psychological influence and the social influence has a role in the aging process. Let us look into in much more detail in the next videos. So in much more, I can explain to you what is the role of the psychological intrusions into the aging process. Thanks for the patient listening.